back to Clarity Convos for Wedding Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Aislinn, and today we have a very special guest, Allison Davis. We are back doing Ask a Planner episodes. I am so freaking excited to have you here. So freaking excited for this. Please say hello.
Hey, everyone. I'm excited to be back. This is a really fun series, and we have some good questions to talk about today.
Yes. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to tell you guys that we are doing Ask a Planner series together. So there's going to be multiple of these episodes. Please go back and listen to the first episode. It was so good. We had such a beautiful conversation. And what happens with these episodes is Allison and I go online and we ask you guys to ask whatever questions you have of wedding planners, and specifically wedding planners who have worked in multiple markets, who have worked in the luxury market, but also just have really, really good processes. So if that is something that you want to do, you can always send one of us a DM on Instagram or email us if you have questions that you want to submit for Ask a Planner series. Well, let's get into it. I think today's going to be really fun. These questions are really, really good. So I think the first thing I kind of want to do is first congratulate you on being part of WIPA and being part of the board of WIPA.
Thanks.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, so as of the start of this year, I am the National Director of Education for WIPA. I joined kind of as an inaugural board member in North Carolina in 2023, and it's been such an exciting journey that I wasn't expecting. I think, of course, as a planner, you're always trying to kind of look 10 steps ahead. And this is not something that I anticipated coming my way. And it's been so much fun and so exciting. And I've met some really fantastic people along the way. And I'm just grateful to be part of the organization and to be surrounded by so many super motivated and smart and creative wedding industry pros.
I love that. For anyone in the audience who doesn't know what WIPA is, can you just give like a TLDR?
Oh, yeah. So WIPA is the Wedding Industry Professionals Association, and it is kind of the only thing out there that exists in the way that it does. We don't have any restrictions around the type of wedding industry profession you have. It's open to photographers, planners, stationery designers, artists, painters. Everybody who's in the wedding industry can join. We require that you are insured, that you're licensed, that you've been in business for a certain amount of time. And so, kind of walking into the room that the people around you are just as serious as you are, which is very nice. And we really focus on education. Education is one of the pillars of WIPA for sure. And networking and community building. It's one of the only things like it that exists. I think right now there are a lot of networking opportunities in the wedding industry that have popped up, which is very exciting to me because I want to go to all of them. But WIPA has, I think, 22 chapters all around the country right now. There is in-person networking and education. There is online education that you can reference. My favorite thing that people don't know is that you can go, once you join WIPA, you can go in the library and you can watch recordings of all of the other events all over the country whenever you want. That's one of the first things that I did when I joined. I knew there was an event in New York I'd wanted to go to and couldn't make. I wanted to hear from Michelle Rago, so I went right in the library and watched it. It's just cool to know that you have connections. Like if you're in a destination photographer, for example, and you want to shoot in California, you can go and see all of the members in California and see maybe there's somebody you want to collaborate with and connect with. There's just so much opportunity available. It's a great group to be a part of.
I love that so much. And so many of my clients and so many of my friends are part of WIPA. So it's just makes my heart really happy that you're the board of directors education. So freaking excited for you.
We have to get you in the mix also. The formal ask is coming, of course, but it would be awesome to get you in front of our membership.
It's a beautiful segue into in-person networking because so many wedding professionals, I was in the business for 15 years at this point. I've been to a lot of networking events over the years, and I got really picky towards the end of my career of where I would actually spend my physical in-person time, because when you walk into a networking event and let's just say you only know one person at that networking event, it can be so intimidating. Or you walk into a networking event and you know everyone and you're like, cool, I was hoping to meet new people. Like those events, like it can be like a little frustrating. So I love that you're part of WIPA. I would love to hear like some of your thoughts as a planner and just like your thoughts because you've been in the industry for a long time. How like can people do better in-person networking? And like how do you do it and not be weird?
In-person networking is hard. I'll just put that out there to start this off. It's hard. It is very intimidating, even if you're an extrovert. I'm very extroverted, and I feel like still every time I walk into a room, even if I know who's going to be there, I kind of have to take a deep breath and like hype myself up a little bit because it's very overwhelming, especially when it's a room full of 100 plus people, right? So like I think first of all, you should acknowledge the fact that it is intense and it's not easy. Give yourself credit for showing up. And also kind of keep in mind that most of the people in the room are feeling just as maybe a little nervous as you are. And so don't try to other yourself as somebody who is like the weirdo walking into the room, because I guarantee you that most of the other people feel just as weird. And also just approach people like human. I think sometimes people feel like you're walking into a networking event, even though our industry is like pretty low key and like fun focused when we all get together. I think still when you go into networking events, you can feel like you have to kind of behave a certain way, ask certain questions, like hand them a business card, like very like buttoned up. But that's not the case at all. I think the best way to operate at networking events is just to have genuine conversations with people, find common ground that you can connect on. And this is an industry where it really benefits you to have genuine connections with people because people want to work with people that they know and like and trust. And so common ground can really be as easy as like if you're standing in line together at the bar, asking the person next to you what they were thinking about ordering. Did you see the menu? The specialty cocktail looks good. Talking to them about the decor around you and how beautiful it is. Talking to them about I don't know, like the venue and how you've never been there before, but you're so excited and it's your first time. Oh, hey, have you been here before? Oh, you've worked here before? No way. What's it like working here? I could see this. There's so many things that you can connect on that can be so simple and that don't require you to have an elevator pitch prepared, because most of the time, the other people in the room probably don't want to hear your elevator pitch. I'm so sorry to say. You could save it for a different environment. It's good to have an elevator pitch, don't get me wrong. But I think at industry specific networking events, it's good to just go in knowing that you have a lot in common with the people and find ways to kind of draw that out into a very natural conversation.
I love that. I think that's such great advice. And also like I'll add on to the elevator pitch thing because I think that when you are nervous, it's good to have something to fall back on, but that should
Yes.
not be like the first card that you pull. The first card that you should pull is how can I connect to the human that's standing next to me? How can I connect to this vendor that's standing next to me? And this is why I love like events and industry things like WIPA, because you're standing in a room full of people who care about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You're standing in a room full of people who are professionals,
Mm-hmm.
hobbyists. Like they're not just like in this because like they've been in it for a year. They've been in
Mm-hmm.
it for a while and they're established. And so you have something in common with them when you're standing at like an event like this. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm so curious if you have any anecdotes or any like it's like stories around like people coming up to you at events and like what are some of the things that you've connected on or like some of the things that have happened for you at in-person networking events.
Oh, yeah. I think sometimes it can be overwhelming when there are a lot of networking events back to back. When you get like the mood board, the fashion board, you have to like put an outfit together. You're getting a bunch of them that are all different. You're going to networking events like around the holidays or something like that. And it's like, okay, I need outfits in like 17 different colors. Connecting about the outfit inspo, I think it'd be fun. Even if you hate the outfit inspo, talking to people about like how you search high and low to find like a purple dress with sequins on it, and talking to people about how you never thought you would wear this particular piece of jewelry again, but now look at you at this event. I think that those kind of conversations can be really fun and can like draw a little bit out of people. I think it's fun to challenge yourself to see how long you can talk to someone without asking them what they do. What do you do is just it. Yes, it's helpful to ask that question to find out more about someone very quickly, but I think that the connection feels more genuine when you are building not based on what their occupation is
Or what they can
and
do for
so
you.
exactly
Yeah, that's a big one.
when you ask someone what they do and it turns out that maybe they're a photographer or they're a planner and you're a photographer, sometimes that can change the feel of the conversation in a way that you maybe didn't mean to. And also, I think a lot of times people who are perceived to have more power, so to speak, in the industry appreciate not being asked what they do, because then they are really able to be themselves and not feel like they have to immediately like turn it on to like vet who they're talking to.
Yeah.
What else? I think this feels like a very like area thing, a very tri-state thing, but how long did it take you to get here? Is a question that we tend to ask each other a lot. How long did it take you to get here? Did you get stuck in that traffic on such and such? Where did you park? People in certain cities in particular really like talking about parking. You kind of have to know your audience too. I know that right now it's becoming a lot more popular for people to travel from out of town, out of state to go to networking events. So asking people where they're from, why they decided to come to the event, what drew them to the event. Those are really good questions, because sometimes you might find out things about somebody that, again, you can really relate to, especially if you came from someplace further away to attend the event. Talking to them about where you're from, what your area is like, what your market is like, what you find interesting about the market that you're in at the event. I think that those types of conversations are often the most fun. And again, you can find common ground with people. Like, I'm in North Carolina, I'm from New York, I'm going to an event in Philadelphia. I have a lot in common with those people, but it takes a little bit of kind of, you have to tug the screen. You have to tug the string a little bit to get that information, and that's how you're having like a real deal, genuine conversation.
I love that. There are several things that like came up for me like as you were talking, and I think the first thing is like people first, human connection first. It's not
sure.
Who can I pedestal in this room? Who can I put above me in this room? Who can I get something from in this room? It's people first. Like, Allison, you and I have known each other since like what, 2020, 2021, something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's been a minute.
It's wild to think of like how long we've known each other. We've never physically been in the same room together, I think. Yeah,
Never.
exactly. But it's wild because like when we first connected, it was human first. It wasn't like, oh, well, like how can you like get me a wedding? Like that was never it. It was, how can I connect with this person? She seems really interesting. Right. And like there was that mutual just kind of fascination of like, oh, you have like really interesting like connection points. Oh, you do too. And like I think like it can be so lost in this industry when we pedestal people of like, oh, well, she's a luxury planner. So like, I have to get to know her and I have to get on her good side, not pedestaling people and like thinking about like, oh, well, they're so much further along in their career than me, or they're like this specific like type of planner or whatever. So like they have more power than me. It's like, can we just like get back to human connection and like less of this like weird, like pedestaling that happens in the industry?
Yeah, please. The kind of newer wave of industry networking events is really leaning into that more, which is really cool to see. The new direction that events are starting to take for networking specifically in this industry is inspiring, honestly. The dinners, the retreats, the things that are popping up where it's like, hey, just come and hang out. We'll do a little bit of education, but really we want you to share a meal, share an experience, and just connect with one another. I think that that's really special. And I think that that's kind of the right direction to take, the right guidance to give yourself, even when you're going to any other event. How can I share in this experience with these people and build a connection with them through the shared experience and not necessarily based on what they can do for me or what I can do for them.
Which I think like leads beautifully into the next question, which is the art of the follow-up. I think this is something that is so lost. I think I even have a training on this inside of one of my programs around following up with people and how to do it in a way that's like A, genuine, B, not weird, and C, is actually going to do what you want it to do, which is build a relationship. Connections and relationships like mean so much to me. And so like, of course, like I was in an industry where it was like very much like part of the industry, but I see so often that people will meet someone at a networking event or they'll meet someone at like a group like thing that they're in and they just like never follow up. They think like, oh, someone's going to follow up with me. Like they don't take that initiation of like, hey, I could send a really simple email, like, and be like, hey, I really loved meeting you at this event. Your purple dress was so cute. I need to know where you got it. And then, like, at the very end, you could say something like, I'd love to take you out to coffee sometime in the next couple of months. Let me know if you have availability in this month or this month. Chat soon, Aislinn. It's a fun. I want to hear your thoughts on this from the planner's perspective of like, what are bad follow-ups? What are good follow-ups? What are some of your favorite follow-ups that you've had?
I love a short and sweet follow-up, truly.
Do not put your elevator pitch in a follow-up. Just don't do it.
Please, please don't. I think taking a follow-up as a responsibility to send a text wall, pricing information, that sort of thing, not great. If I asked for it, that's different. But as an opener, not great. But I do
that's
think
like asking for 30 years of marriage on the first date.
Yeah, it's kind of intense. It's a little bit intense for me. But like you said, it really can just be as simple as, it was so great meeting you. Like, insert thing we discussed here. Would love to like connect again via whatever thing, whatever way. Let's keep in touch, blah, blah, blah. You know, I think that's super easy. I also really love sending people things that I found, that I came across, that reminded me of them. I have one buddy in the wedding industry, actually, that we see each other every now and then. We don't have a lot of opportunities to hang out in real life, or even to like hang out for extended periods of time, like virtually, but we're both nerds. And so whenever we see things that are really interesting takes on like marketing or pop culture, or certain celebrities that we both really like, we just text them to each other. And we have like an async conversation about the thing. And it's a really great way to stay connected. She has put me onto a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of really exciting creators that I follow now, concepts that I've learned about, articles that I've really enjoyed reading. And I appreciate that she thinks to send them to me, and it just keeps her top of mind for me pretty much all the time. And like, sometimes we'll talk about work things, and we'll talk about like things that we are hoping to collaborate on. But for the most part, I would say the majority of our relationship is just connecting over shared interests. And I think that that's really powerful. Like, I think this industry sometimes has like an oversharing problem. There honestly, like, some situations I've been in this industry where I felt uncomfortable by how much personal information I was getting from a person that I truly did not know. But with that said, I do think that if you can find ways to share little bits of your real self, your whole self, that'll really help you to make really impactful connections with people.
I love that. Yeah, like just drop like little bits of lore, like in the conversations that you're having.
Exactly. Like, I think most people who've met me in real life know that I love reality TV, because I always mention it in some form or another. And so that's like a broad enough thing where if you hear or see anything about reality TV and you want to send it to me, send it to me. I want to see it. Even if it's not a thing that I watch, I'm curious about it. I'm just curious about people. Like, and that's where reality TV really catches me. I'm just curious. I'm like nosy. I want to see like what people do and what they're like, and like, why is this so fake and why is this so real? Like, I love reality TV, but I'm not telling you my life story. You know, when I'm at events, I'm not telling people about my childhood trauma, because I just don't really feel like that's appropriate. Like, it's still work. We're still work. Pushback from people sometimes when I say this at work. It's like, hey, this is still work. Like, you like, calm down. Even though it's a work event, you can talk about how you like to play pickleball on the weekends. Like, that's cool. I'll send you like a pickleball outfit that I saw on Instagram, and be like, hey, this is cute. You should order it. Like, we can do stuff like that. We can like have a little bit of banter. Like, it's fun. It keeps things interesting.
I love that. And I feel like that's such a genuine way of following up. That's such a genuine connection way of like building a relationship. One thing that I was thinking was like, okay, if you're at a networking event, you like meet Allison for the first time, you guys have a great conversation about reality TV. Like, you're talking about Love is Blind or like whatever other like reality TV like that you're into. Like, you're chatting about it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then you see a reel like the next day about like, that's like really funny. That's like making fun of Love is Blind or whatever. You can send like that reel to the person as the connection point.
Yes.
But what I was thinking was, okay, how, like, little ADHD brain here, like, how do I remember like the connection point for each person? So if you're like at an event, and like this is why I think connection points are so important, because now like you've got like brain association of Allison and reality TV. You can make a like 2-second like note in your app. Allison, Love is Blind. That's all you have to do. Like, go to the bathroom, make your little notes, go back out there.
You know, okay, so this is gonna be like corporate me talking, but that's literally what Salesforce is. That's literally the point of Salesforce, and Salesforce is like the most popular like piece of software in corporate, not even America, corporate Earth. Like you keep track of your interactions with your clients, with your colleagues, with other businesses, whatever. And so when you are going into follow up or to check in, you can look at all of your notes. So instead of trying to keep track of everything in your brain, you have a database of all of your connection points, and you can add little personal notes. Their kids are named Sam and Oliver, and they like to vacation in Miami, whatever. You can keep track of all of that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. You should do it.
Yes.
I feel like there are people that we all admire who seem to know a little bit of something about everything and everybody. Not in like a creepy way, yes. Not in a creepy way, but just in a way that feels like, oh, this person like genuinely cares. That's you genuinely caring, keeping track of the things that matter to the people that you're building connections with. It's in line with keeping people's addresses on file, with keeping their birthdays on file. You want to remember things about them so that you can keep in touch and you can continue to build your relationship. And so there's nothing wrong, especially as an industry that's built off of connections, with having a way to keep track of your notes on the people that you know.
Yeah. So like, for example, just a connection point here, like how I would use this in like a real life situation. If they like said like, oh, we loved, like you have it in your notes that this person loves to vacation in Miami. Oh my gosh, I went to Taylor Swift's concert in Miami last year in October, and we ate at this restaurant that had the best espresso martini I've ever had in my life. Have you ever been to this restaurant before? That is a connection point right there. Like, and that's like, it's a genuine human connection point, rather than, hey, what's your job? What do you do? Where do you work? What venue did you last work at? Like, no, this is truly like human connection 101, like relationship building 101 right here.
Right. And these are things that like, I think sometimes we don't talk about in our industry because everybody just feels like we're all friends. And like, yes, a lot of us do have friendships, and I feel it can be easier to build friendships in this industry than in others that I've worked in. However, you still have to kind of inject some professional corporate girly tricks into it to really get to that next level of those people that you're like, how does that person know everything about everybody? Some people are just gifted and they just remember everything. I'm not one of those people. And there's no shame in using a system to help yourself be just a more thoughtful human, because it's one thing to have the information, but to actually use that information to do things for people is what makes it what it is. You know, like you could keep little notes about how the photographer that you like working with loves Taylor Swift. And so when the article comes out about how Taylor Swift had like the biggest tour of all time, you can be like, oh my God, did you see this? You were part of this. How many shows did you go to? You know what I mean? Like, you can have those conversations with people. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. You don't have to send a Zoom invite for it. It could just be an email or a text. But I just wanted to let you know that I thought about you. That goes a really, really, really long way. A really, really long way.
If you're listening to this and you're thinking like, wow, these people like are so good at building connections, they're so good at building relationships, here's what I want you to hear. The result of that is that we are widely connected within the industry. I still know probably thousands of people in the wedding industry at this point because I've made connections across the country. My name gets spoken in rooms that I am not standing in. Allison, I'm sure it's the same for you as well. Like, you probably know more people than I do in the wedding industry, to be honest. But when you are out there building genuine connections to build genuine connections, it's going to help your brand in the long run. But also it's going to, like, when people think of certain things, they're going to associate it with you. it's going to be like they're like standing in a room like at a networking event and they think of like reality TV. You're going to come to mind. And that's such a like beautiful thing like to think about, like when we're building businesses and when we're building brands, it's not as like this little like island. Like you're not like,
Right.
you know, solo in this. Like your brand could be in a lot of different rooms if you would start building connections in this way.
Yes. Yes. And it's one thing to have like a business that is very visible. Your work goes viral all the time. You work with celebrities, the whole nine. That's one piece of it too. And like, not to say that you can't do both, but I think what's pushing those people forward who seem to float very much under the radar, but also are somehow always like popping up everywhere is their relationships. Because I know that we've all had a moment where we heard somebody's name or saw somebody on a list or an article or something like that and went to their Instagram and we're like, they only have 500 followers. Who even is this? They have relationships that are making things happen for them, and they're making things happen for themselves behind the scenes. And that's why I think it's so important to focus on the people aspect of this work, because the relationships are going to take you further than just your work alone.
Yeah. And I'll say one last thing before we move on to the next question. I literally have spoken Allison's name in rooms to other people that I think that she needs to be connected with because I know things about her, because she's told me things about her and we built a relationship. So like, I think it's like, and I'm sure like the same, like could say it be said vice versa. Yeah. Like, I think like what's so important here is like, also when you know things about people and you know like, oh, she's really good at this, or oh, this person, they would be like such a good like vibe together, you can speak people's names lovingly into rooms. And I think there's like, I don't know, there's just so much like good karma involved in that. But also like, how cool is it that like you can be the one connecting people like who might not have ever met? Yes, how fun is that?
Fun. That is really fun, and it is really fulfilling to see people that you've connected kind of team up and flourish together. That's the best. That is the best.
I love living in a world where like, you know, we've never physically been in the same room together, but like we know each other. Like how cool is that?
Yes. Yes. And we really are making the most of it too. Like it's kind of nuts.
I love it. So next question. I feel like this is kind of like shifting gears a little bit, but I love this conversation so much. So ask a planner, what do you see and hear in terms of client feedback on photography? And then kind of like secondarily, like when are clients the happiest? When do they have regrets? Like what are your thoughts as a planner and what are you hearing from your clients?
I love this question so much. Photography is one of the most challenging decisions for clients to make, I find, because there's so much at stake. And even beyond that, there's so many kind of things that need to match up, that need to align for it to work. Because if the portfolio is on point, but the personalities don't match between the clients and the photographer, it's probably not the best fit. And so a lot of what I'm trying to do is kind of take what I know about my clients' personalities, what I know about photographers' personalities, and match in that way, and also make sure that the portfolio matches what they're looking for. So it can be time consuming for sure. And also when I reach out to photographers to get quotes, sometimes I'm not 100% sure if the personalities are going to fit. And I try to mention that when I can. I want to make sure everybody is always going to get on a call. But like there has to be a call. I'm not coming to the call because I don't want to be in there like trying to make something happen if it doesn't work. I'm not going to go on your first date with you. I'm not going to be on this call. It has to fit. There has to be like a gel there, right? And so I think trying to skip that step never works. Before I kind of shifted my focus to only full service planning, and when I was still doing month of coordination, wedding management, I would work with clients who hired their photographer based on portfolio alone and then did not get along with them at the wedding. That is very painful for everybody involved to go through. Do not skip the step of talking to the client. Even if you think that there's no possible way that it won't work, even if the planner tries to get in your way, please, please, please try to talk to the client. Unless your style is very hands-off, fly on the wall, in which case, do you. But if you like to have a dialogue with your clients throughout the day, you got to talk to them before the wedding, before you sign the contract, ideally. But anyway, beyond that, once you sign the agreement, once you're like in the process of the planning, the pre-production, the thing that I find that clients end up regretting most is having too long of a list of their must-have photos.
Oof.
Because they get in the moment and they're like, you know what? I don't really care about having a photo of me with all my college friends. I don't really care about having a photo of me and all of my distant cousins. You know, they're just like in the moment, they're having fun. They're like irritated that they're being pulled away to pose for a photo. And instead, they get photos back and they see like the natural, candid photos of them with those people, and those do the trick. So it can be difficult ahead of time to be part of those conversations with clients because nobody wants to be told that their photo configurations are not important. I'm not trying to tell anybody that those people are not important and that photo will not be important to you later on down the line. But what I am saying is that be very particular about the list of must-have photos that you have that you pose for, because you will hit a wall at a certain point. And there may be a bit of regret that you set aside too much time for pose photos and tried to choreograph them too carefully. And you missed out on the unplanned time where the kind of magical stuff happens. I think in general, trying to overplan moments in your wedding can take away from the magical stuff that happens. Trying to add too many activities can take away from that. Too much flair, too many vendors and photo booths and activations like it's a corporate event can take away. But I think the biggest thing that I see is clients trying to plan too many group photos. Also trying to cut photography coverage to too few hours. Like, oh, we only really need like the ceremony and the photos during speeches, like first dance. We don't really need anything else. You can leave. You want getting ready photos. Don't try to cut those. You really want those. Don't cut those. And you don't need photos of people dancing for hours, but you're probably going to want some party photos. Don't try to cut too many hours. Listen to the planner. And also, like, don't show up with too many photos that you found on Instagram and Pinterest that you want to recreate. A lot of those photos that you're trying to recreate are candids, sorry to say. And trying to recreate them can feel weird. You can have concepts that you want to try to recreate, but I think that's more than a photography conversation. That's also a planner conversation. That's about creating the vibe so that you can foster the environment for those moments and not necessarily recreate them exactly. Because that can get weird. It's not a photo shoot.
Yeah.
It's not a photo shoot. You don't want it to feel like one. You definitely don't want your guests to feel like one. It's an experience. The photos are great. They're nice to have. They're vital. But you don't want anybody to feel like they just came to be part of your photo op. To recreate your vision board, because that's never a good feeling.
Yeah. And I think this kind of like, if you're a photographer listening to this and you're thinking like, okay, like if this is the client feedback that a planner is hearing, how can I as a photographer kind of like make some shifts? And I think the very first thing is, it's like, you know, if a client comes to you and they say they have a shot list, you can always say to them, like, we will try our very best to get as many of these as are a priority to you as possible. However, a wedding day is fluid. So there's going to be times where you might not want to take this photo. So I'm always going to make sure on a wedding day, I ask you, is this a priority in this moment right now that we take this photo? And then you have the autonomy to say yes or no. And I'm going to listen to whatever you say. I, as a photographer, am not going to go force you to take a photo because it's on a list. So I think that's like one of the first things as a professional and as a photographer is that you have to take like, yes, feel the vibes and also just like respect the vibes. They're there for a reason.
Yes, please.
I think the second thing, like I actually wanted to kind of ask you was like, I love that you pair up like portfolio and also like vibe / personality. I'll ask you the question after this. I don't want you guys listening to this thinking, okay, I have to mold myself to a certain personality in order to book. That's not the truth. People want your authentic self because your authentic self is going to be there on wedding day. So you better show up to that consultation as who you're going to be on wedding day. Otherwise, like you're kind of lying to the couple. That's not cool.
Yes.
So my question for you, Allison, is what personalities are you finding are like the most common as like a fit for your couples?
Good question. My couples tend to be very private. They are also pretty low key. They're like fun, but they're not necessarily very boisterous, very outgoing, very loud. They're not like life of the party types a lot of time. They like to host, but they also don't love being the center of attention. depending on kind of the flavor of that personality, sometimes they need a photographer who is going to bring them out of their shells because they're shy. Sometimes they need a photographer that's going to match their kind of low-key energy, but also be able to kind of like bring out the best in them and make them feel comfortable. Some of them do want a photographer that's very much like center of attention, like very big personality, very loud energy, because they feel like that will really kind of inspire them and motivate them to kind of be their best selves. But it depends. But I feel like that is kind of where I'm coming from typically when I'm looking for somebody that's going to be a good match for my client. And when I'm talking to photographers, when we get to the photographer conversation, I've typically had a solid few weeks, at least a month of conversations with them. We've had phone calls, we've had Zoom calls, we've maybe met in person sometimes. We have a lot of emails that we've piled up together. And so I have a pretty good sense of the type of person that they'll connect with. And usually I like to mention that sense to photographers when I'm reaching out on behalf of my clients. I want to say to them like, hey, this couple is like really chilled out, but they're fun, or they're super shy, but we're still going to have a 20-piece band because nobody else in their family is shy. You know, like I try to give an idea of what the vibe is like. And also make it clear, like, I'm reaching out to you because I feel like your personality is a good fit for them. I don't want to make it all about the client necessarily, because I also want to empower the photographer to feel like they can show up as the person that I know, because I think that my clients will be drawn to that.
Yeah. And I think this is like such a beautiful way to kind of wrap it up and wrap up to like what we talked about earlier with in-person networking events.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show who you are in person and online, like so that Allison can actually like when she's talking to clients and she's like, oh, I need somebody who's grounded. I need somebody who has a portfolio that has a mix of like digital and film. I need someone who has a really strong process. I need someone who like is not afraid to make like really like stupid jokes, but also isn't going to take over the moment. I need someone who is like, whatever, she can match that to a certain person. So if you show up to networking events and you're like, okay, how do I make myself look like every single other person in this room? How do I like talk about the same things that everyone else is talking about in this? Like we like very casually mentioned that like you love reality TV. I don't love reality TV, but I could sit here and like tell you like I love reality TV. I can like mention all these things about it. That's not true to who I am. But if I like get going on like fantasy novels or get going on like I went to a book convention and got to put on a ball gown last week, like that is true to me. Like Allison is going to have a client who's going to be like very in tune with that. And also my portfolio fits. That's who she's going to think of. So when you're going to these networking events, don't be afraid to be yourself. We need to know that information in order to like make these decisions of like matchmaking people.
Yes. And also when I'm setting up the calls, I'm encouraging the client and the photographer in separate conversations, like be yourself. Don't be afraid to talk about things that are not related to photography and process. And when can I expect to see the photos come in? Like we have all that stuff already. Like I have all of that like contract type of detail. You don't have to worry about those pieces. I just want you to see like what the vibe is like. Ask some questions about who they are, how they got started. Ask a couple questions about like what they like to do for fun. Because I've heard reports back from those calls where the client says, well, we really liked both of these photographers, but we want to hire this one because her family is from the same island that my family is from.
That's so cool.
And it's like, I didn't know that going into it. I had a feeling that you would match up. That makes me feel great because I made a match, right? But I know that makes them feel really great too, because they're like, okay, not only do we love this person's style, we feel a connection to this person and who they are as an artist, but we also feel like this is somebody that we might like hang out with outside of just like wedding stuff. And I think that is like the magic of really sharing your personality, because again, you don't have to tell everybody like all of your business. You probably shouldn't tell everybody all of your business, but you never know when you are going to reveal something of yourself that someone hears and thinks, oh, that's my person.
That's one of the things that like I like made a commitment to myself for 2025 was just like taking off some of the layers and taking off some of the mask of like, oh, I probably shouldn't share this information, or I probably shouldn't share this piece of myself, and just be like, you know what? No, like this is the most authentic version of myself. I can share it. I don't have to share everything, but I can share these
Right.
pieces of myself. And it sparks
Yes.
some really great conversations, which I love. Like
I
that's the
love
beginning of,
that.
yeah. Well, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I love like your answers to the questions. These questions were amazing. So thank you guys so much for submitting them
Yes.
to us.
Thank you.
For future Ask a Planner question bank questions, you guys can either send myself or Allison a DM on Instagram, or you can also send us an email and we can add them to the next episodes that we're doing of Ask a Planner. But Allison, can you share how people can find you and anything interesting that you've got going on in your life right now?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram, Davis Rowe. You can find me on Threads also. I don't talk as much on Threads, but I like to engage with Threads content. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to recruit people to LinkedIn. I still don't fully know how best to use it, but I'm there. Those are the best places to find me online and to reach out. And please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to talk to people. I like to be in the mix. And then of course, like send us stuff to talk about on these episodes, these podcast episodes, because it's fun. And we're not going to put you on blast if you have a question.
Yeah, notice we
That's
didn't
the
say
other
anyone's
thing about
name.
this. We didn't mention anybody's name. So if you have a question that you're like too shy to ask, you can just slide it over to me and I will not judge you. We'll talk about it and you can get your answer without feeling like you had to stand on stage to do it.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for being here for this episode. I can't wait for our next one. And I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day.
Thank